How to Become a Webinar Legend by Jason Fladlien and Wilson Mattos. Although the pictures are switched around from the names, so. And Val just made that point. Yep. Okay, great. So let's go right on with it. We are starting now. Webinars. Okay. GoToWebinar was actually first created in 2006. I started using GoToWebinar in 2008. I would have started using it sooner, but the marketplace just wasn't there yet. Most people were not able to get on a webinar. They didn't have the broadband connection, etc., etc. So I waited and I waited and I waited, and then I jumped in 2008. But the thing is, in a history that's been less than 5 years old, I've been on it for nearly 4 years. And you could say, well, what about the other webinar solutions that are out there? And I say there are no other webinar solutions out there. GoToWebinar is the best, all right? There's nothing better than GoToWebinar. So when I talk about doing webinars, I'm specifically talking about GoToWebinar. There's nothing that is as good, even though it has its flaws, it's better than everything else. And since then, on my own, I calculated this when I was putting together this presentation. I stopped after I got to 1,000 hours. I have done over 1,000 hours of live webinar, not pre-recorded, not any of this other stuff, live, actually in the flesh, nose to nose, virtually, on webinars. And I know, Will, you've done several hundred hours of webinars as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm pushing, if I count all the types of webinars I've done, Jason, I'm probably pushing about 1,000 hours also plus.
Yeah, absolutely. So we haven't just been doing this because it's hot. It's not just a trend that we've capitalized on. Literally the pioneers. We've pioneered doing webinars. And so I got a lot of good stuff to show you from that experience today. And there has been nothing that has made me more profit in my business besides an email list than doing webinars. And webinars are how you make the most profit out of an email list, for example. Okay? Along the way, between Will and I, either for ourselves or for our clients or counting affiliates and everything else, our own products, that's $1 million plus. Yes, 7 figures, $1 million with an M that we've done directly as a result of webinars. And that number, again, is conservative because I stopped counting after a while just so I could say that I knew for a fact I've done at least $1 million on webinars, if not more. Okay, I wish I could keep all that, but the IRS likes to take a chunk of it, but that's okay because, as I said, webinars are the most profitable thing I've ever done in my business besides build an email list. All right? So the how, okay? We're going to share you some of these profit-getting secrets right here on this very webinar, from doing your presentation to getting people on the call to selling product and everything in between. So if that sounds good to you, just let me know. Say, yes, that sounds good, Jason. We did get 100% audience view when I asked that question. So good. We're all on the same page here. Awesome. And I promise you, you're going to love this. We're going to cover a lot of content, maybe too much content, but I'm going to try to fit it all in within an hour, okay? Secret number 1, all right? I don't care how good your webinar presentation is, you will not make dollar number 1 unless you have people watching the webinar presentation. Okay, without a doubt, the best way to get people on a webinar is having an email list. However, that's not the only way. And if you're starting out, you don't need an email list to make money with webinars. Unfortunately, people never get around to doing webinars because they say, well, I got to wait and build a list first, and then I got to monetize the list, and then once I've monetized the list, then I can bring them on, then I can learn webinars. No. If you learn to do webinars, you can get an email list. You can get joint ventures. You can get anything you need. So you need to learn to do webinars as soon as possible. So I'm going to show you how to get people on your webinars if you don't have an email list. And specifically, there's 4 ways. Those are Twitter, Facebook, forums, and joint ventures. All right? So Twitter. The good thing about Twitter is people don't like to be directly marketed to on Twitter because it's more of a social environment. And most people are on their mobile phones when they're on Twitter, right? So you don't want to send them to a squeeze page collecting an email in exchange for a free gift. You definitely don't want to send them to a sales page, okay? You want to send them to something that is not direct marketing, but indirect marketing. And tweeting is great because you could say, I'm doing a free webinar, right? It's free. I'm going to give content on the webinar. You should come. not only will people directly respond to you on Twitter, they will actually retweet your Twitter thing that you've put out there, and just because they'll pass it along because you're just giving away something free in more of a social environment. And a webinar is social, whereas almost every other type of marketing is static. So Will, why don't you share really quickly like a 2-minute case study that you did when you first got into webinars using Twitter?
Yeah, so when I started doing webinars in the internet marketing space, and I had been doing them in other spaces before, but in the internet marketing space, I had no list. So I used Twitter for three and a half weeks to invite people to webinars. I automated invitations to Twitter through Twitter. So about 6 to 8 times a day, messages were going out, different messages each time, because you can't post the same message repeatedly. It just doesn't post in your timeline. And basically inviting people to a webinar. And I was able to get 150, 160 registrations or something like that. But I ended up having 49 people live on the webinar. 49 people were live. I did a 60 to 70-minute training, and then I pitched a product. And that webinar, I took it and started selling the recording because the content was just so good. So between the product sales and product recordings, that 1 hour and a half of my time plus a little bit of time inviting people to Twitter, I netted in 12 months, I netted $4,200 and some dollars.
Interesting.
That was just from one webinar. I stopped counting after that because I thought 12 month figure was enough. But just to give you an idea, this was several years ago. This was back in 2009, I think it was. That same webinar recording continues to sell. In fact, Jason and I sold almost $1,000 of that same webinar recording last month alone. And it continues to drive sales to that original product that I was promoting. So yeah, really, really big guys. Did that without a list. We have plenty of other examples that we'll give you, but there are definitely ways to get people to attend without a list.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the bottom line. And Will did something else that was interesting. I don't know if you were listening to that, but he said, I also made the webinar profitable for me long after I did the webinar. And that's a strategy that we could talk about a little bit later of how you can make webinars not just a one-off event you get paid to do them once, but literally turn them into static products later and sell them. Very interesting. But in this case, what's easier, building an email list or building a Twitter list, okay? It's much easier to build a Twitter list, okay? So if you don't have a Twitter list right now, get one by starting asking people to be your friends, okay? That's much easier to build that list initially than it is to build an email list, and then you can launch in and start doing webinars, okay? If Twitter isn't your cup of tea or isn't the only thing you want to include in your arsenal, guess what? Facebook, okay? If you have a following on Facebook, and most of us do these days, if not, you can very easily build one. Again, easier than an email list, but what you can do is create an event. So on your Facebook in the upper right-hand corner, when you go to edit your profile, there'll be a thing that says events. And then when you select an event, it'll allow you to create an event. So I literally created an event for this webinar, a free webinar on webinars. Question, anybody here seen that on Facebook? Anybody here has a direct result of that from Facebook? I didn't even invite all my friends. I just posted it. I actually saw people repost it on their walls on Facebook saying, you got to come to Jason's webinar on this day. There's no financial incentive for them to come, right, or to repost it up there, but people were. And anyway, if people are on my email list and on my Twitter following, I might as well still get them on Facebook because maybe they don't email that day. They don't check their email. Maybe they forget after they've checked their email, but they see it on Facebook. So you could create an event on Facebook, and it's very simple. And notice what I did here. I just named the title of it and the where. They want you to put like a location. I literally put the URL right here in the where. And so people can literally click on that. And then I put it again there in the more information because people can click on that. Now, notice I use a GoToWebinar URL as opposed to like a redirect URL. The reason I did that is because people trust this URL more than like jasonloves.com/webinars. This one looks more authoritative. This one doesn't look. This one looks less markety. And Facebook again is a social platform. And so in this case, we actually use the full URL. Okay. And Tara asked a good question. I noticed on your Facebook post, you didn't actually build a list. No, I didn't. Because Facebook is a social environment, so we don't want to force a co-op in right now. We just put them on GoToWebinar. Now, something we're going to talk about at the very end of this call is a technology we're developing right now that would simultaneously get them to sign up with GoToWebinar and add onto our list and retain that authority. But we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But Facebook, if you have friends on Facebook, well, guess what? Start creating events and inviting your friends. You just select guests, and you can select everybody, okay? You can select everybody and send it out to all your friends. If you don't have Facebook, you should get on Facebook because, again, building a list of Facebook friends is easier than building an email list. Ideally, you have an email list, a Facebook friends list, and a Twitter list, okay? The other thing that you can do that I'm very excited about, in 2 to 3 weeks, me and Will are going to do a direct case study using Facebook ads for webinars. Okay, so on the right-hand side of every Facebook page, you see right here, like Frank Kern's advertising something right now, his high-end coaching program. Okay, I see webinars being advertised on Facebook more than anything. So this is what you do. You run a Facebook ad. Now you can target by demographics, so whatever your niche is, you can select people that are very interested in that niche. Okay? Tips. The picture on a Facebook ad is typically more important than the copy that you see on the right-hand side. So you want to get an image that really stands and grabs somebody else, an eye. If you don't have an idea of how to do this, here's what I do. I go to Facebook and I randomly hit refresh and I pop on different pages and stuff, and then I look at the Facebook stuff that grabs my eye. And so anytime an ad grabs my eye, I take a screen capture of it, all right, and I build a swipe file of different Facebook ads that have caught my eye. Then when I create my Facebook ad, I look at my swipe file and kind of model my ad after that, okay? And so here's one I saw recently. I couldn't find it because they're always changing, but I saw the ad and I clicked through to a web page and I saw this, okay? So notice how Frank Kern is using webinars. He says, hurry, seats are limited, reserve yours now. Here's a webinar, right? Free webinar reveals, and then he gives you 3 dates. Okay, he's literally advertising this on Facebook. He's not advertising this on Google. He's not advertising this anywhere else. I've only seen him do this on Facebook. Now, in this case, they're using a super advanced strategy, which is an automated webinar. That's why they have 3 different days, and he never actually shows up and does them. I do not recommend that you do automated webinars unless you're already cranking big bucks online, okay? They're very complicated and very hard to do, and, hey, we all need to practice doing them live anyway, right? You know? And so that's what I would recommend instead, is to do something where you send them to a page, and we're going to have a case study with this in 2 or 3 weeks, and you generate your leads on Facebook. Now, you could do Facebook paid advertising simultaneously with Facebook friends, doing an event, and Twitter. Okay, there's nothing stopping you from doing more than one. All right? Finally, here's another one. Forums. This one is most applicable to the internet marketing arena, but there are other forums that allow you to do paid advertising as well. Here's a screenshot that I just did yesterday. Warrior Forum, for example, if you remember that, it's the biggest internet marketing forum on the planet, all right? And at any one point in time, there's about 5,000 people on that forum. And more people are on the Warrior Forum special offer section than any other section, always. Okay, so this is where you can go and you can pay $40 to run an advertisement. Okay, and you run an advertisement that advertises your free upcoming webinar. You pay $40 for this advertisement, and that's it. Then you might want to bump it if you're getting a lot of people signing up, okay? So, for example, this is something that somebody did yesterday, 5/5/2011, and already running the webinar, and I don't think the topic is even that good, how to earn residual income from sites like Fiverr.com, that's not that good of one. But I don't care, 350 views and 10 replies, you know? That's not bad, considering that I bet Vondre has gotten more since then. You know, I'll take 500 or 600 views for $40. You know, it's worth it because webinars.
Jason,
go ahead.
Jason, I've done this as well as a WSO, and you know, I was sitting around one Wednesday night a while back, and I thought, you know what? Let me do something on Saturday. Let me make some extra cash. And so at 2:30 a.m. on Thursday, my WSO went live for a Saturday webinar, and that was a charged webinar. I was charging $19.95 for people to attend that webinar. In just that slightly over 48 hours via the WSO, I made over $2,200.
Exactly. And so in this case, we'll charge them to attend the webinar, which is another strategy that we could talk about later. But he made $2,200 from an advertisement that ran for 4 days. And Will, did you ever bump it at all, or did you just pay it once?
Yeah, I bumped it. I think I bumped it 2 or 3 times. So it ended up costing me $120, $160 or something like that.
Nah, I'll take that all day long. And sometimes if you get a really hot topic, like Facebook is a super hot topic right now, you can see Kevin ran this one for an April 27th advertisement. Okay, and bumping it, Irene, simply means paying again to bring it back to the top, because your thing will only stay on page 1 for like a day. Okay, who cares though? Look what Kevin did here. He has a super hot topic. April 27th is when he ran this. 4,936 views. I will take that all day long. All right? So that's another simple way to get people to your webinars. It works only really in this case for internet marketing, although there's other forums where you can advertise on, okay, outside of the internet marketing space. Interesting though. None of these things require a list, right? No. You know, and if you put that $40 ad and it doesn't do that well, then don't bump it. Don't pay another $40 to bring it back to the top after it goes off the first page, off the first 2 pages. You know, big deal. You just gambled $40. Okay, that's it. Ooh. You know, you got to put something up if you want to get in this game, right? Finally, the easiest way in one sense, but the hardest way in another sense on doing webinars is joint ventures, okay? The question you really have to ask yourself is this: how could someone with no list, no proven converting webinar, no nothing, no track record at all, they just have a product and a webinar presentation, how could they go and land a joint venture to present in front of somebody else's audience, okay? Sounds hard, doesn't it? I can't, you know, in this particular scenario, I couldn't use an example of all the webinars that we made money from. I didn't have a list, so I couldn't do a reciprocal. Hey, you mail for me, I mail for you. We can't do any of that stuff, right? I still have to convince somebody to do a joint venture with me in spite of those odds. Happens all the time, okay? Happens all the time where people with no name, no credibility, no list, no track record, contact someone and say, hey, I want to do a joint venture with you. I want to do a webinar to your list, and that person says yes. It happens all the time, okay? Here's how. There are 3 specific techniques that you can employ, okay? First one is do something above and beyond potential financial compensation. What do I mean by that, okay? Here's what I mean by that. Typically, these are how joint ventures are formed. Hey, you want to promote my product? I'll give you 50% of the commissions. It's this much money, and you can make this much money on it. Will you promote it? That method rarely, if ever, works, okay? Because there's nothing that differentiates your offer to promote you as an affiliate as opposed to the 10 billion other people that could approach them and want them to promote their product instead, okay? It's really how much do you want this? Because when I was starting out, here's some of the things that I did to land webinars with other partners where they didn't know who I was, I didn't have a track record, none of that stuff. I would do things like this. I would say to them, you know what, your sales letter isn't very good. I've taken the liberty to rewrite it for you. I want you to test it. When it makes you more money, then contact me so we can do a webinar to your list so I can make you even more money than that, okay? See what I did there? I am doing something above and beyond just giving them a cut of profits, right? In this particular case, I'm fixing their sales letter. Okay, you say, well, Jason, maybe I don't know how to write a sales letter. Okay, well, you're good at excuses, but here's another one for you. You go to their site and their graphics are all messed up, or their HTML is all messed up, all right? You contact a programmer or a graphics person for super cheap. You fix their graphics for them, okay? You give them the results, and you say, I fixed this for you. Maybe that will buy me a 15-minute conversation with you on the phone so I can talk to you about something, right? I guarantee you they will get on the phone with you for 15 minutes if you do something like that for them. Another way is to create content for them. As Leanne said, we've done that several times, where I've went to somebody and say, hey, I noticed you run a membership site because I'm a member of it. I also know you haven't added any new member content for the last month and a half. I bet you that's costing you money, right? Well, I've taken the liberty of creating some content that I will let you use 100%. All I ask in return is for you to talk to me on the phone for 10 minutes about this opportunity that I think can make us a lot of money. Okay? How many of them are going to say yes to that? Every single one of them. All right? So that's step one, is doing something above and beyond potential financial compensation, and make it as easy as possible for them to enjoy that above and beyond. Number two is be persistent and fun. Okay, there was this guy from Romania who always tried to get me to do a webinar, to do a webinar to my list, and I constantly turned him down. And he was persistent, which is a good trait, but he wasn't fun. Okay, it was the same thing he said to me every other day. You should look at this. You should promote this. You should look at this. You should promote this. It got to the point that every time I saw his name in my inbox, I died a little inside. Okay? You have to be persistent in this game because most people you will not get at the right time or the right place the first time you contact them. So plan on following up with everybody that you're going to want to do a joint venture with. However, be fun about it. Okay? And here's the key thing that you have to ask yourself. How can I make them smile every time they open my email? All right? So they want to open up my email even if they're not going to respond to my joint venture request right now. If they open up that email, they'll still get a chuckle. They'll still get a laugh. They'll still get a smile. It'll be a little ray of sunshine, a little extra ray of sunshine in their day that they otherwise would have never had. Okay, if you can follow up but make each email they get from you enjoyable to the point where they crack a little smile, they will open up every personal email you send them, and eventually, through sheer persistence, they will say yes to a joint venture with you. Okay, is that pretty cool? Does that make sense to everybody? See what we're doing here? We're going above and beyond just promote for me and get a cut, right? And we're making it fun to interact with us, right? Awesome. Okay? I'll tell you another way I've landed a couple joint ventures. I've literally contacted the person I wanted to do a joint venture with, and I said, how much is it for an hour of your coaching? Okay? And then they pay me. Then they say, it's this much. So I say, okay, I want to book an hour of coaching. Here's my money. When we get on the call, I explain to them this. I go, I got this webinar that's just killing it. I think is going to kill it for affiliates, right? I start talking all about the webinar idea I have and how much money I can make. And then I explain to them, hey, would you mind helping me out? You know, I'll pay you for another hour of coaching if we can do this webinar to your list. Okay? Interesting, huh? In this case, we're paying for a quote-unquote consult where we take that hour consult and explain to them our webinar idea and how we want to sell it and everything, and then we offer to pay them for another hour if they will let us present it to their list. Okay, you're literally paying for a consult where you're paying to pitch them on your concept. All right, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten webinars by paying somebody an hour conversation. Okay, and I can't tell you, there's been a lot of times that's happened to me too, and it's worked on me. It's worked for me, and it's worked on me. All right, so that's how you can land a joint venture even though you have no name and no track record, where you can land a joint venture with somebody who does have a name and a track record and who can put many people on a webinar. All right? So now that you know the tactics to get attendees on the webinar, even if you yourself don't have a list, all right, what do you got to do next? Well, you get people onto the webinar attendees, you got to have a good presentation, all right? Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of attention. You're going to get no sales, okay? And at the same time, let's remind ourselves this. Sales are not the only objective of a webinar, okay? Because there's methods you can use. I call them timeshare methods, right? Where you sell a timeshare. There's methods you can use to get people to buy, but they don't necessarily like you after the webinar is over with, okay? You can make an okay living doing that. It's very short term, though, all right? I much prefer the long term, where I can make money while simultaneously increasing the relationship that I have with the people that are on my email list, so I can make both short-term profits and long-term profits, all right? And so this is the method that I have developed, and Will and I have used this successfully countless numbers of times. And we could try out case study after case study on this one, and they all basically follow the same formula. 5, 45, whenever. Watch this webinar, and it will follow the same formula. I did a 5-minute introduction, okay, and mine was actually less than 5 minutes, all right? Now we're doing 45 minutes of content, okay? At the end of this call, we're going to do the whenever, when we introduce our offer, okay? And the whenever lasts for how long it adequately takes us to communicate the value of our offer to you, and also answer any questions that we feel are pertinent, right? So it's 5:45 whenever. Typically, that's the general guidelines that we follow in our business. 5-minute less or introduction. 45 minutes of solid content, whenever amount of taking the time to adequately explain the value of your offer and answer questions and do, copious calls to actions to get people to sign up, right? Most people, when they do a webinar the first few times, the critical error that they make is this. They spend way too long on the introduction, okay? If I can write your autobiography for you by the time you're done with the introduction, you've done it wrong. Okay, the other problem people make when they're doing presentations on webinars is they treat like I have to tell them everything about my stuff, about who I am and why you should listen to me in the first 5 minutes, because I can't tell them in the next 45 minutes. No, a lot of credentialization in webinars, meaning that you're an authority and all that good stuff, that comes in your 45 minutes of content. Notice how we've been referencing things we've done in the past, success stories we've had. We add that into our 45 minutes, okay? So we can teach content and simultaneously build our own authority and our own credibility. Okay, the 5 minutes are used for something very specific, and this is how you can structure an introduction that's pretty good. It's this, okay? You basically answer 3 whys. Okay, why you're an expert, why they should want to learn what you're going to teach them, and why they should stay on the whole time. Okay, so let's just see if I did this correctly. Do you remember my why I'm an expert at the beginning of this webinar? And why Will and I are experts? What was my why? Yeah, over 1,000 hours of webinars. Okay, and over $1 million generated from webinars. Okay, what was your why on why you should learn this webinar stuff? Why should you learn this webinar stuff? Yeah, because like I said, it is the single most valuable thing you can do in your business outside of having an email list. Yep, it is the single most important thing you can do in your business outside of having an email list. Okay, so the best thing you can do in your business is have an email list. The second best thing you can do is do webinars to your email list. Okay, and I mentioned the fact that webinars are the highest converting types of offers available, and webinars can build your email list for you. Okay?
So Jason, I want to know from the audience, how many of them caught exactly what you were doing there in the last 60 or to 90 seconds? How many of you caught exactly what Jason was doing? Exactly. Tara got it. You're reinforcing. You're involving. There's an engagement portion there that actually gets you to think and type it out and tell him exactly why he's the expert. That's reinforcing in your mind that he really is the expert, or that we really are the experts. So that's a really, really powerful technique. I'm glad some of you got it. And if you didn't, just understand that those are all techniques that are being used all the time on webinars that we do in order to build that trust and build that credibility as we go along.
Absolutely. And I'm glad Will pointed that out, because a lot of times, I mean, I've done this so much, and Will's done this so much, that we do so many different strategies that are just automatic. And no, it's not some fancy NLP or anything. It's a teaching tool, okay? If I get you actively involved in the presentation, you think actively. If I just talk at you, you think passively, all right? And that's better for both of us if we're all active together. Okay, now what was the last thing? Why they should stay on the whole time? Boy, people really messed this one up. They don't give people a reason to stay the whole time. Yeah, I said there's going to be something special at the end when we make our offer. Okay? Yeah. And so I gave a reason for you to stay the whole time. I can't tell you how many people just automatically assume their attendees on their webinar will stay the whole time. Okay? That's the kiss of death, all right? So that's your introduction. 3 whys. Why you're an expert, why they need to know what you're going to teach them, and why they should stay on till the end of the webinar. Okay? Content. In general, now there's a few exceptions to this rule depending on what you're offering, but 80% of the time I would say this is the rule Will and I follow in our business. Okay? We give a step-by-step solution for immediate adequate relief to a pressing problem, which we've done here so far. You know, our step-by-step solution is how to get attendees to a webinar, and then how to present the content of the webinar. That's going to be our solution. Now, naturally, in 1 hour, I cannot give you the best of the best in every step of the process, could I? It's physically impossible. Okay? Maybe if we were teaching something like how to make a glass of lemonade, I could teach you everything you need to know in an hour. But when we're talking about a skill like webinars, which is so profitable, so valuable, there's nothing I can do, no matter how good of a teacher I am, to teach you everything I can in an hour. So my goal as a teacher on a webinar is to give you something you could walk away with and immediately implement. Okay, what I've given you is not the perfect solutions, have I? Because I didn't have enough time to explain the intricacies of how to set up Facebook ads. I didn't have time to explain the intricacies of how Will automated the Twitter responses. I didn't have time to explain the intricacies of what works best on the Warrior Forum, okay? But I gave you a good enough down and dirty stuff that you could get started if you were so motivated, right? Exactly, okay? And so that's great, because you're going to get value from this no matter what. Now, if my offer isn't meant for you at the end of the call, no big deal. You walked away feeling that your investment of time was worth it. Okay, but if my offer is for you at the end of the call, imagine how good that's going to be. If you got a lot of value from the free stuff, the pay stuff is going to be even better. Okay, this is in direct juxtaposition to how most people teach webinar selling or selling in general. The typical reasoning or the old cliche is tell them what to do but not how to do it, okay? So what they would tell you instead if they were preparing this presentation was like, you know, you make webinars by getting attendees, and then once you get attendees, you give a presentation, and that's it, okay? And then they would spend all that time explaining why you should be doing those things. And then the what and the how are reserved for when you buy the course, okay? Yeah. I mean, that works. Believe it or not, that works. But it's not a long-term branding mechanism. And I'm in this for the long run. I don't know about you, but I want to be here 10 years doing this. I love this stuff, okay? And I want to have the squeaky clean reputation I have now 10 years from now, okay? And so there is a way to sell while simultaneously giving a lot of content. Most people will tell you it's impossible. You either give content and sacrifice sales, or you get sales and sacrifice content. Okay, that is not necessarily true. Now, the way that I have perfected and the way that Will has perfected is harder. It is. I'll be honest with you, but it's much more valuable. And I think, and I'm guessing, you want to learn the most valuable stuff, not the cheap shots. Okay, I'm just going to assume that. And so the way that you do this is you give, hey, if you have more time than money and you need something right away, I'm going to give you a step-by-step solution in within an hour. Okay. And that's what you're going to get, okay? And then at the end, if you have more than just time to invest and you have money to invest, then you're going to love what I have for you when I offer you the paid solution. Because most reasonable people, and these are the people that are going to be on your calls, right? Most reasonable people on your calls, they would prefer investing money in exchange for something that's more valuable to them than the money. Okay, because I was on a seminar this weekend speaking, and I said, money itself doesn't have much value unless you're cold and need to burn it to stay warm, Otherwise, you trade money for experience. You trade money for knowledge. And ultimately, you want to trade a little bit of money for a lot of knowledge or a lot of experience. And so that's what the content does. The content gives them some knowledge and some experience and literally gives them an A to Z solution that they can use. Okay? However, they could probably shortcut the time and definitely feel more comfortable doing it if they had whatever resource you're going to offer at the end. Okay? I hope that makes sense to everybody, because there's a lot of nuances there, but that is critical in your success in everything you do in marketing. Okay? Critical to success in everything you do in marketing, what I just discussed right there. Okay? Now let me give you a little hint. All right? Too much information is generally as bad as too little information. Okay? So I could have done this presentation and I could have literally listed like 47 different techniques that we have used to make money with the webinars, and they could have been scattershot, right? I could have give you all kinds of stuff, and I see a lot of presenters do this, and I used to make this mistake back in the day. I cram so much content that I only spend 1 to 2 minutes on each key point. You know what I'm saying? And the problem with that is that's as bad as too little information. Okay, the balancing act when you're doing webinars is to give just the right amount of information. Okay? Now, if you want to err on the side of caution, it's always better to give too much information as opposed to too little information. Okay? So if you're not sure, go with a little too much as opposed to a little too little. Okay? And the reason why too much content is bad is you've created more problems for your audience than they previously had. Okay? They might be considering 3 or 4 issues. And then you get on and give so much content, and now they're considering 9 or 10 issues. You have just done them a disservice. Okay? So you don't provide the value that you were attempting to provide, and in return you don't get rewarded because you didn't provide the value, so you don't get the profits. And there's been a lot of questions I've been watching in the questions box as I've been presenting this, and people are asking, well, Jason, how do you know you have the right amount? Okay, there's 2 ways you know you have the right amount. One is through experience, doing this several times. Then you will just get a feel of the right amount. 2 is it's always good to have somebody who knows what they're doing look over your presentation and say, from a customer perspective or from an expert perspective, I think you're confusing people here. I think you have too much information, And so you want a fresh pair of eyes, ideally an expert looking over your presentation, and you want to just do a lot of presentation. All right? You want to do a lot of presentations because over time you will develop this feel. It's literally a feeling. Okay? It's not a thought, it's a feeling. And you'll say, yep, I got it just right. Now, Will and I have fine-tuned that down to where we can write a webinar presentation in about 25 minutes and hit it out of the park, okay? That's from several thousand hours, though, okay? In the meantime, though, you get better and better each time, but you're making money while you're learning, right? Okay, so then the final part of your presentation, we talked about the 5:45 whenever. 5 minutes of introduction, answer the 3 why questions. Content, 45 minutes. Give them a down and dirty solution, and try to wrap it up in a step-by-step format that's a logical sequence. But don't put too much content. Don't put too little content. Put just enough content that says, okay, I can go out and do this if I so choose on my own, all right? However, I'm still interested in the offer at the end because it will shortcut some of my process and hassle, so I don't have to do it on my own. All right? So now we're into the offer section of structuring your webinar presentation. First, let's talk a little bit about philosophy when you're doing your offer. Keep communicating benefits tied to calls to action until there is no more sufficient interest in your offer or you become too exhausted to continue. Okay? The interesting thing here is when people that I've trained to do webinars is this. They think that you can only spend 15 minutes selling your offer, quote-unquote selling, right? Because we don't sell. We provide opportunities, okay? But people think you got 15 minutes to quote-unquote sell and then you got to stop. I have found that to be dangerously wrong, all right? Here's the deal. If I have an opportunity and people are very interested in it, and I go 15 minutes and they still are very interested in it and want to know more, Do I just end the webinar there and say, oh, good night? Or do I keep explaining benefits? Do I keep giving them clarifications on their questions? Do I keep pointing them back to where they can sign up? Yeah. I can't tell you how many people stop selling their offer on a webinar 30, 45, an hour before they should have. How much money will you lose? That's why it says 5:45 whenever, okay? It doesn't say 5:45:20. It doesn't say 5:45:10. It doesn't say 5:45:19 and a half, right? It says 5:45 whenever. Because typically, either people will finally run out of interest in your offer because you've exhausted all possible questions, all possible avenues of value, okay? That will either happen, or more likely, you will become too exhausted to continue. Okay, so how many people have been on a webinar that Will and I have done where I said, I'd like to go all night, but I'm just too tired, so I'm going to end the webinar in a minute, okay? I'm too tired to go on. Have you ever heard me say something like that on a webinar? Yeah, I do it all the time, actually. Yeah, if you've been on my webinars, you've heard me say, okay, I'm tired, you know. Sometimes it's my voice. I'm losing my voice. Sorry, I got to go, you know. Far more often than not, I go as long as I can go until I'm starting to speak incoherently, I'm starting to see things, my voice is going out, or I can't keep my eyes open. All right?
Hey, Jason, one point of clarification that I think is really important, though, is that you need to be able to concisely explain your offer. And you should be able to complete your initial explanation of your offer within, you know, depending on what product, within 5 minutes to, at the very most 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Will.
So that offer, so somebody has heard and understood your offer, you know, your audience has heard and understood your offer in its entirety in a very short period of time. Then what you're doing is you're continuing to sell, you're reiterating, you're explaining additional benefits and so on. It doesn't mean that you can take 1 hour to explain what your offer is. That is not the case.
That's a great point, Will, because we actually will track when we go into the offer to when people start leaving on the call. And we have found it depends on the offer. If you're doing some demonstration like what we do with software, that can buy us a little bit more time. But we typically like to do the first quote-unquote close in a 5-minute cycle, meaning let me introduce you to my offer, culminating to here's where you go to order. That's 5 minutes. 5 minutes or less, we get the first call to action in. But we can continue, and I'm going to talk more about that on the next slides. Okay? But yeah, the thing is, if you go for your first 5 minutes, you do your call to action, you answer a few questions, you give some clarity, you do your second call to action 7 minutes in, and there's still 500 questions coming in wanting to know more about your offer, you keep going. Okay? So you make copious amounts of calls to action and lots of communicating benefits, but you keep going until people run out of interest in your offer, or have no more questions to ask that are questions that might help them consider investing, all right? Or you become too exhausted. Sometimes me and Will go 2.5 hours because we'll have a really nice offer, but people just want to know certain things that either we didn't cover in the webinar, they weren't on the webinar when we covered them, or they just need some clarification, okay? And Irene says, how do you move from your content to your offer without sounding salesy? That's an excellent question, Irene. We actually use a transition. As you see on this slide, and thank you, by the way, for setting me up for that. The offer really has 3 parts, okay? Transition, a close, and a call to action. And I like what Sherry says. It says, one of the things I've noticed is that you guys have continued to answer questions. It also shows that you have great support for your stuff. That's true. It's also a selling point, because if you're willing to hang in there and help people out, that says a lot about you as a person, right? And Stan says, so if you started with 100 and are down to 25, is it time to consider shutting down? Stan, not necessarily. Those 25 people that are left might be the best 25 people you could ever communicate your offer to. So if they're asking question after question still, keep going. Now, if there's birds chirping in the background and there's no activity going on, then you might want to shut it down, okay? So let's go on with the offer here. It has a transition, has a close, and then it has a call to action. Okay, and typically this is what's interesting. Well, first let's talk about the transaction. Just as Irene said, let me repeat her comment. She said, how do you move from your content to your offer without sounding salesy? And that's very important, okay? Moving from content to offer in a way that doesn't alienate your audience. That's what you use the transition for, okay? There are several transitions that I have used, and I literally could recite them to you off the top of my head word for word perfectly because I've used them so much. But the simplest transaction, if you do no other transition, okay, use this one. When you're ready to tie up your content, you can say, all right, so I just share with you this. Did you enjoy our time so far on this webinar? Audience says, yes. Then you say, would you like to spend some more time together after this webinar? Audience says, yes. Then you say, okay, well then I'm pleased to announce to you this wonderful opportunity that I have. Here's what it's all about. You have just transitioned perfectly from content to your offer, okay? Basically, the underlying philosophy behind this that helped me develop all my own transitions was this. How do I get permission to make an offer to my audience? How do I get permission to make an offer to my audience? And that example right there is a way to get permission. Did you enjoy our time together today? Yes. Would you like to spend more time together? Yes. Okay, well then you're going to be very interested in what I have to offer you. You have now just gotten permission to make your offer. I can't tell you how many times I have watched people do webinars where they literally just do like a cold shoulder, roundabout, I gave you content, now I'm going to sell you something. You know? You got to have a little finesse here, and the transition does that. You know? I mean, you can even use cheesy transitions. I've done this one before. Okay? How many people here think I'm going to sell something to you at the end of this webinar? You know? Well, I wouldn't want to disappoint you. You know, because you say, how many people here think I'm going to sell something at the end of the webinar? And everybody says yes, right? And they say, okay, well, I wouldn't want to disappoint you. Okay, that is cheesy, all right? Does it work? Yes. Why? You have gotten permission, you know, and you kind of diffuse it with laughter. Me, on the other hand, I'm a pretty straightforward guy. One of the best transitions that you can use during your webinar is this. I mentioned already up front a couple times that I was going to offer something at the end of this webinar, didn't I? You know? It's not like I'm hiding the fact that I have an opportunity at the end of this call that I think is in your best interest to invest in, you know? But that's not the only thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you some good content too. And so we future pace the ability to offer something because people expect it ahead of time. I created a close that many people have successfully adapted and I've taught. It's one of the most knocked off closes of all time that I created that people use these days, and it's the close on the first slide of your presentation. You say, I'm going to show you how to do something amazing, right? And you put something specific in there. I'm going to show you how to do blank in blank amount of time. And what I'm going to show you on this webinar for free is probably better than stuff you paid $197 for or more. Then I say, now at the end of the call, naturally, I'm going to be making you an offer. I don't want you to invest in that offer unless I fulfill my promise to you today to give you more valuable information on this subject than you're typically used to getting in $197 courses or more. Does that sound fair to everyone? Everyone says yes, right? And so
Hey, Jason, you know, there's too abrupt a transition where there isn't a nice, clear transition, and you do alienate your people. But there's also the other side where there is no clear transition at all, and the audience is just confused about what you're talking about. Like the content and the offer are so merged together that you just absolutely lose people, and they don't know what you're talking about. And I've been on webinars where people have done that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too, is where there needs to be a transition to clearly segment the two things. People understand this was the educational part, and people understand this is the opportunity to invest part. Otherwise, you don't know what part is the content and what part is the opportunity. So I'm glad that you brought that up as well, Will. But yeah, you absolutely have to have a transition so it's clearly defined that you're going to be making an offer, and it can't be too abrupt. Otherwise, that turns people off. It's got to be seamless. Okay, so that's the idea with the transition, is moving from content to offer in a way that doesn't alienate your audience and makes it clear what your offer is going to be. All right? Moving on, close. And notice I put the S in parentheses. This is a huge problem that I see when people do webinars. And I don't like the word close, by the way. Okay, but this is just the word that we all know. A close is when you go and make your offer and do the call to action at the end of where they can sign up. Okay, but most people will typically do one close on a webinar. I see this more times than not. So this is typically their close. They introduce the product, they explain some of the benefits about the product, they explain what you get when you sign up to get the product, they explain the guarantees, and then they do a call to action of where you can go to sign up. Okay? And that's it. That's their whole close. One close. They only plan for one close. And then any other thing they do on top of that, like answering questions, all right? None of those things are orchestrated or prepared in advance. When Will and I do a webinar, I typically have 6 different quote-unquote closes, and again, I hate that word, okay, but I have 6 different ways that I am going to do a call to action specifically for an offer, okay? And so, do you think that helps our sales? So we have 6 different ways that perfectly illustrate the benefits of our offer. And we use all 6. And we hit 6 different types of people that maybe they didn't respond to this one or this one or this one, but they could respond to this one. Okay? And so you need to create your own swipe file of closes, okay? And this is what I tell my clients when they say, Jason, how are you so good? How can you rattle off these different closes effortlessly on your webinars, even though they're not on your slides, and you just seem to pull them out of the air? And this is what I tell them, okay? You need to, first of all, create your own swipe file. So on any webinar that you've seen Will and I do, on any webinar you've seen anybody else do, when you see, that's a good way that they got people to go and sign up for their offer, write that down, okay? That's a swipe that you can use, okay? And yeah, Linda, we change our win for our different closes, okay, because some closes depend on the context, some depend on your offer, some depend on your price point, some depend on your audience, okay, and some work better in certain orders than others. But by having a grab bag of all these different closes, I can pull at least 6 out and chain them together in a logical fashion, one after the other, okay? And so, yeah, you need to be able to have your own reference to pick from each webinar presentation that you create. So you can say, okay, I have 30 or 40 different types of closes I can use. I'm going to use these 6 because they fit the best for this offer that I'm going to make, and I'm going to put them in this order because that makes the most sense for this offer, okay? So not only do you have to have a reference, a swipe file, so you can reference all these different closes and pick and choose the ones that are best for the particular webinar you're doing, okay? But you should have these memorized by heart, okay? To the point where I could wake you up from a dead sleep and say, pitch me right now, give me 6 closes, and you could do it, right? So if I walked in, snuck into your house at night, that's scary. But if I snuck into your house at night and I said, wake up right now, give me 6 closes, could you do it? Tara says, I'd make you something to eat first. I could do it. Now, nobody's sneaking to my house, okay, because I'll probably choke you out before you can even say anything. Okay, but it's good to be in that frame of mind that where, say your spouse can wake you up in the middle of the night and you can recite 6 closes off the top of your head. Okay, so I didn't list every close that I use on this slide, but these are some of the ones that I use most often, okay? Columbo close, amnesia, pause recording close, sleep well close, 2 choices close, quality price and service, cost versus price, guaranteed triple stack, schoolboy close, tiered bonus wars, reverse close, hired gun close, dramatic demo close, leave now close, prize close, affiliate webinar close, Cialdini close. This is where I stack 6 persuasion elements on top of each other in less than 2 minutes, okay? The 2 nickels close, the anti-guru close, the commitment close, the 3-layer scarcity close, help you get it close, disqualification close, pros versus con close, the Q&A close, and more. Right? You know, these are all closes that I could recite off the top of my head. Now, I don't use any more than maybe 6 of these on a webinar, but I have all of these to choose from and more, right? And so somebody says, yeah, and the get off this call now close. You're right, Guy. That's another close that we use that I didn't even fit on this list. But Irene says, can you give an example of one of these, like the Columbo close? Okay, the Columbo close is this. This is the one that I created. Columbo was a detective, a TV detective who was famous for talking to who he thought was a murder suspect. And then he gets them to relax, and then when he walks out the door and their guard's down, he turns around and says, oh, and one more thing, right? Just one more thing, okay? And then he launches into his real thing that he came there for, okay? The way that we use a Columbo close is we do a presentation and we intentionally leave out a bonus until the end. And then we say, oh, just one more thing. You're also getting this, okay? And why do you think that close works? And yeah, Peter Falk is a legend. I love Peter Falk. Why do you think that works, though? Okay, it's a tipping point. You're absolutely right, Tara. Okay, it's a tipping point. Oh, just one more thing. You also get this. And they're like, oh, my God. If I haven't signed up now, I have to sign up now. Okay, at the same time, the people who have already signed up are like, oh, man, that just reaffirms that I made such a good decision. All right? So you intentionally leave something out until the end of the webinar, and you do, oh, just one more thing. That's the Columbo close, you know? You know, I have, and some of these have variations, okay? Irene says, can you do one more, the schoolboy close? Here's the schoolboy close, okay? What happened if the first day you went to high school, your first teacher came in, and he dropped a big, thick textbook on your desk, and it went thump. And he goes, here you go. I'll be back at the end of the semester to give you the final. And you went to your second teacher, and that happened. And you went to your third teacher, that happened. And you went to the fourth teacher, and that happened. Okay? How many of you here would have graduated high school? Okay? Now let me ask you this question. When you buy these ebooks and home study courses, what do you think's happening to you? Same thing. They're dumping a whole bunch of stuff on you, and then they're never talking to you again. Wait, I take that back. They are talking to you again when they want to sell you something in the future, okay? If you want to get relief from this problem, if you want to get a solution for blank, whatever, you need more than just ebooks. You need more than just home study courses. You need coaching, and that's what I have to offer you today, okay? And then if I want to take the second level on the schoolboy close, I say this. Don't get me wrong, ebooks have their place. Okay? I sell ebooks. Ebooks are wonderful. They're typically reserved for people who, and then I go into the 2-nickel close. They're typically reserved for people who have more time to invest than money, and they only have 2 nickels to rub together. If that's the case, then please buy ebooks, because it's still better than nothing. Okay? But for the people who value their time and have money set aside specifically to invest in themselves, then you're going to need more than just an ebook. And that's why this coaching, I'm so happy to introduce it to you. Ta-da! You know, that's a schoolboy close changed into the 2 nickels close. Okay? So yeah, I do have these. I do have these memorized. And this wasn't a challenge, Irene. I mean, I like the fact that you kept me honest, you know, but we could go on and on and on. Somebody said, oh, Jason, I noticed you did the Columbo the other night when you did the Fan Pro, you know, the Fan Pro webinar. You know, I have a variation of the quality, price, service close. And that one, the one that I use, I have multiple variations of some of these clothes, but my favorite one to use on that one is this. Somebody will say, well, yeah, I saw marketer X over here selling what seems to be the same thing for half the price that you're selling it, okay? And then this is what I say to them. I say, okay, well, here's what you can do. I know people do this all the time. Buy their stuff first. And then when it doesn't work for you, come back, and you'll eventually buy my stuff anyway. So let's save each other the time, and why don't you just buy my stuff now and not waste your money on them and get this right away, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks and getting it, because I know that's probably going to happen anyway. That's my version of the quality, price, service close, okay? But the more polite version is we had a decision to make when we created this product. we could focus on quality, price, or service. Now, it would be great to have all three, but nothing in the world can have all three. And so out of the three, the most important to us was quality, so we included that. The second most important thing to us was service, and so we made sure that you're going to be serviced. The least most important thing to us was price, because we'd rather create the highest quality and provide the highest service for the people who need this most. So yes, we aren't the cheapest dude on the block, you know, but we're also the only ones that can provide this, this, and this with this and this service, okay? And so that's that.
It's important for people to realize, though, that like sometimes when you're hearing something like, you know, the explanations out of context, it sounds like you're just making up a story, but that's not the case. The close needs to go hand in hand with your offer and needs to tell the truth. For example, you know, you're just talking about the quality versus service versus price. I mean, it's a great close, it's a great explanation, and it works really well in a lot of things that we do. But it's also very true.
Yeah. Now, if you were the cheapest person in the world, you're not going to use that. And if you don't provide quality or service, then you wouldn't use that either, okay? Because we're all here to build a long-term business. And, yeah, you can lie to somebody and get them to buy from you once, but you ain't going to trick them into buying from you over and over again. So we don't rely on tricks, okay? These closes all have one specific purpose: to help best communicate the value of your offer in a way that makes sense to your audience, and if it's for them, they will sign up for it, okay? But yeah, these are some of the things. These are some of the things you need to do. If you want to get good at this, okay, if you want to do this as a hobby, you don't need to memorize any closes. If you want to get good, you should have the ability that I have to where you can recite closes on the drop of a dime or the snap of the finger. Okay, and so this is great because this is when you know you're good, is when people have already asked me, so what is your offer today? Okay, by the way, that's a good indication of you're doing it right when that's happening, and we'll get to that. But here's the result. The result is if you do what I just discussed, you will walk, live, eat, sleep, breathe, and have the ability to sell almost anyone who is interested in your solution. Okay? You don't want to sell people who shouldn't be interested, and you don't want to sell people who can't afford it without mortgaging and selling their kidneys, right? But you want to sell to the people who can afford it and who are interested. And if you do what I just said, you will be walking, living, eating, and sleeping and breathing. This is when you get the quote-unquote, oh, they're just a born salesperson. They're just a natural salesperson. Yeah, well, I was a natural after I practiced too, right? So that's just what separates the legends from getting the legends from those who just get by. Okay? And so this is the problem with all this stuff. Okay? This webinar stuff, everything that we do has problems. Okay? The problem with this is it's hard to master webinar stuff in one sitting. Can we agree on that? Okay? It's hard to master stuff in one sitting, especially webinar stuff, because it's a little bit of a higher level skill than most stuff, but it's worth it. Okay? And it's hard for us to cover everything we need to cover in 60 minutes, although we covered a lot, and there's a lot of good value here. Okay? Now, from the hundreds and hundreds of success stories that we've created teaching webinars, here's what we discovered. 3 weeks. Okay? 3 weeks. Some reason, I don't know, 21 days you can talk about because that's how long it takes a habit to form. Okay? That you could talk about, maybe it's just repetition. I don't know. All I know is 3 weeks. That's the magic number. 3 weeks of training on a webinar. On webinars, on how to do webinars. That seems to be the magic number to help people become webinar legends, okay, as opposed to get buyers, okay? And so what kind of training? The training that we offer is this: a mixture of coaching, live coaching, a mixture of peer support, meaning that sometimes the best thing you can do is network with like-minded people, and we allow that to happen, and also reference material that reinforces and enhances the live coaching, okay? And that's what we're delighted to offer to you today. Such a training, okay? Introducing our Webinar Legend training. 3 sessions. Remember when I said 3 weeks? 3 sessions. They're spaced 1 week apart. Here are what these sessions are. How to get attendees. We're going to go much more in depth than we did today, cover specific case study examples, and give you actual tools that you can use, okay? How to create your presentation. Okay, I'm going to give you all kinds of closes, word for word, that you can adopt, all kinds of transitions, all kinds of ammunition for your introduction, etc. And also what I call webinar hacks. This is a 3rd session, both on the technical aspect and the non-technical aspect alike. By the way, webinars require some technical proficiency, but it's not hard. It just requires somebody like Will, who's a technical pro, to walk you through it one time. And we cover all the tech stuff, even the stuff that you didn't know was possible. And we show you how to do that in a couple clicks. Okay, let's get more specific. The first session we're going to do is the webinar hacks, because it doesn't make sense for us to show you how to put people on a webinar and sell them if you can't run a webinar. Okay, so we're going to talk to you about how to set up everything. And you already have everything you need to set up. The only thing that's required is a GoToWebinar account. And if you don't have one, please get one, because that is absolutely required, okay? But once you have a GoToWebinar account, we're going to show you all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to show you how to run these reports in GoToWebinar that will create for you conversion rates of 50 to 60% or more. In fact, that's the way I discovered a lot of my techniques, was running these reports. I'm going to show you how to use these reports. We're also going to show you things like how to use polls. There's a little trick you can use with GoToWebinar that actually when somebody leaves a webinar, you can do a testimonial pop-up and capture testimonials like that. And we'll be doing that actually in the classes. Oh, you'll see it firsthand, and we'll show you that. There's ways to get a reduction on long distance for people that are overseas, and that's helpful if you have an overseas environment. We're going to show you how to record the webinars, and that in itself is most valuable. We're going to show you everything about running a webinar that you need to know, okay, and exactly how we do what we do. That's session 1. It's not pretty, it's not glamorous, but it's absolutely required, okay? Oops, what happened here? I don't know what happened to my slides. Where's session 2 at? All right, let me pop over here. Perfect timing, huh? Oh, I see what happened. There's session 2. It's like, there we go. Session 2, presentation, okay? Remember all the webinar closes I showed you on that one slide before, and I rattled off a few off the top of my head? On session 2, we're going to go over every single one of those closes, and I'm going to give you reference material, okay? Meaning word for word. I'm going to give you all the transitions I've ever used, all the transition Will's ever used, okay? I'm going to show you my step-by-step process of how I consistently write 30-plus converting webinars in less than an hour, okay? And then there's 3 different ways that I structure a presentation depending on the topic. Not only will we help you discover which one is best for you, for whatever webinar you want to do, but we're going to give you 3 fill-in-the-blank, basically PowerPoint templates that you can use that are like done for you almost to the point where you kind of just fill in blanks for the most part, okay, and more. We're going to discover everything you need to, we're going to discuss everything you need to know about presentations in session 2. Session 3, we're going to get into attendees. We're actually going to do a live case study where you can look over our shoulder of how we're going to use Facebook ads specifically. We'll do a live study on Warrior special offers. We'll walk you through all the nuances. We covered just about 10 or 15 minutes of that stuff today. We're going to cover more than 2 hours of that stuff in the coaching session between the live coaching and the reference material. One of the things we're going to cover the most on is how to get affiliates to promote your webinars, and there are several strategies. Okay, and by the way, this is a breeding ground, okay, because if you notice that this member of the class is doing this and you're doing that and you guys are perfect together, you know, I've seen that happen all the time where we've connected people together, and even instances where we saw a webinar opportunity that was so hot that me and Will got behind it and said, dude, we need to do this to our list for you, okay? That's session 3, getting attendees, okay? How this works is with our classes, we do the class is recorded live on a webinar just like this. Oops, let me get this out of the way. And you get the webinar recording within 24 hours, all right? So each session is live, but if you can't make it, you get the recording, okay? If you can't make it but one reference, you get that. In addition, you're going to get bonuses, a backlog of all of our best webinar presentations. So this is a swipe file for you, right? And we're going to give you both the video format and the PDF format so you can breeze through it real quickly and you can reference what we've actually done with webinars. Not just what we're teaching you, but actual examples, okay? You're going to get emails that I've used to promote my webinars. This is a huge swipe file. So if you have a list or you build one, you're literally going to get the email promotions we use to promote our webinar. And you're going to get other reference guides that is going to enhance your webinar training and more. Okay? Guarantee is simple. Try it for 30 days. If you like it, do nothing. If it's not for you, contact our support. And that's at the bottom of every one of our sales letters. It's also at the bottom in the members area. It's in the members area in a couple places. Just contact our support. We're here for you, and we'll promptly and quietly return every penny of your purchase back to you. No questions asked, okay? You risk nothing. You gain everything, okay? Your investment, we don't do any fancy price drops. The investment's so good it's just this, okay? $97 today and $97 due within 30 days from now. This is an unbelievable deal for the coaching. To get what we have to offer for just 2 payments of $97 spaced 30 days apart for this most valuable skill, this is a freaking deal. That's what Brad Spencer just said. This is a freaking deal. Okay? It is a deal, okay? I'll make it even better for you, though. Not only is it that inexpensive to invest in this training, plus if you sign up before the end of this webinar, before we close this webinar and end it, you're going to get a special bonus, okay? The bonus is we have created something that looks exactly like GoToWebinar, their sign-up page, but is actually a squeeze page. So you can simultaneously opt in people to GoToWebinar and your email list at the same time, okay? That is extremely valuable. We're just putting the finishing touches, so it's going to be a few weeks before we get this out of beta and get it to you, okay? We are going to sell this product, and we're going to sell a lot of it. But if you sign up before the end of this webinar, you're going to get that as a bonus for free. As soon as it's developed, it will be in the members area for you. And so this means that you can do things like control where people go after they sign up. So you can do that. So you can do a lot of stuff like text message integration, which we'll talk about during our e-classes. And at the same time, it co-ops your leads. Because right now you can't do that very easily. So we'll have a solution that literally will take a minute or two, and you'll get that for free if you sign up before the end of this webinar today. That's legitimately at least a $47 value, probably more. I don't know exactly what price point we're going to sell to the market, but I can guarantee you we won't sell for anything less than $47, okay? And if we do, it will be only when we start. It'll probably be $97 when it's offered, okay? You get that for free if and only if you sign up before the webinar at the end of the day. So you can go to WebinarLegend.com, okay? And once you're at WebinarLegend.com, you can simply click Add to Cart, and you can get a little bit more information here if you wish to. You click Add to Cart. You say, yes, I accept these terms. And then you're taken through where you can fill out your information here. And it's $97, 2 total installments. Okay, so $97 today and $97 in 30 days. Check out with PayPal, and you'll automatically be taken through PayPal. And then you can log in and purchase through PayPal, or if you're already logged in, it'll automatically purchase for you. Brad says done, an absolute no-brainer. Okay. And yeah, by the way, our opt-in platform will work with Aweber, GetResponse, and Imnica right out of the box. Okay, so let me type in just in case Will hasn't do it. Oh,
Roger,
Linda.
yeah, credit cards are accepted. Just use credit cards via PayPal.
Yep.
On the PayPal screen, you can use your credit card. So one thing that will happen, folks, is when you sign up, as soon as you registered, you are also automatically registered in the GoToWebinar session. So not only will you get information on the members area, you will also immediately receive a notification from GoToWebinar that you are already registered for the 3 sessions, the 3 live sessions.
Excellent. Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you brought that up, Will, because when you sign up today, we automatically register you for all 3 sessions, so you don't have to mess around with that. That's because we know a thing or two about webinars, right?
Leanne asked, how will you know if we purchase before the end of the webinar? Leanne, we will just use the timestamp in our shopping cart. We will know exactly when you sign up.
Yep.
First, yeah, and Nicole, absolutely, the sessions will absolutely be recorded and posted in the member area within 24, at the most 48 hours after the live session.
Yeah, and almost always within 24. First class starts May 10th, all right? So that's 4 days from today. So this offer is only going to be available to May 10th. We do have one exception for one particular affiliate partner, but you're probably not on their list, okay? And we don't even know if that's solidified. But for 99% of the people, we're closing this, okay, when we start the training on May 10th. So it's only available for a few days. The class times are 2 p.m. Central, okay, 2 p.m. Chicago time, 3 p.m. New York time during the middle of the day. So that's good for the UK people as well as the United States people. And the classes are May 10th, May 17th, and May 25th. Okay, so it's like, I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday. But you'll get all that information inside the members area. If you cannot attend, of course, we do absolutely archive every single thing, and it's left in the members area. So you will get not only the recording in video format, you'll also get it in audio format, and you'll get our mind maps, because we use mind maps for our trainings. So you'll get reference material just like that. In addition to that, you get lifetime access to the members area. Again, the bonuses that are going to be included is I'm going to give you a swipe file of every of all my best profitable webinars. Will and I are going to do that. So you have reference there. We're also going to compile and put those into the members area in the near future, the PDFs to those presentations. So you literally will have a swipe file. There's already things inside the members area, I believe, right, Will? Like I take one of my best pitches of all time and deconstruct it. Why I put what I put on every slide. That's in there already?
Yeah, the deconstruction and the webinar pitch secrets report is also there.
Yeah, so I wrote the best-selling book all time on webinar pitches. It has sold more as an ebook. It has sold more than any other one on the topic. That's in the members area as well, and that has some of our closes. Now, I will warn you, I have refined the process since then. So what I'll teach you live is like 10 times better than that. But that stuff is really good. But that can get you started as well. And we're going to be adding stuff to the members area throughout the weeks. What I typically like to do is we like to do the live classes, and then in between each live class, put at least 1 or 2 nice little extra things in between. Okay? One of the things that will be in there, I guarantee you, during the coming weeks is I'm going to have my assistant when she gets back. She's in Texas right now. But when she gets back, she's literally going to go through all my emails from the last few years. And she is going to create a swipe file of every email that I've done that has promoted a webinar. And you're going to get access to that. So you can see via email how I promote it. If you sign up before the webinar, you're going to get that automatic webinar opt-in. And I'll just give you a quick demonstration of what that looks like. Okay? If we go to, let me actually go to this, webinar. So here's the deal, okay? This looks like a regular GoToWebinar registration page, correct? But it's not. It's on my domain. See that? It's not a GoToWebinar. It's my domain. It's not one of these. It's one of these. Okay? We actually have WordPress templates. Literally, it's just a couple of clicks, and these will be built for you, and then you just put in your list. Okay, and it will simultaneously register them to GoToWebinar and your email list. But it looks like that, you know? Or another template that we have looks like this. Okay, and this would be your picture up here, right? And again, notice this is hosted on my domain, not GoToWebinars. It's a WordPress theme. Okay, and another one looks like this. Okay, and this is the one where you say, please enter your name and email to get access to the webinar. That's already set up for you. Okay, it's a WordPress theme. Okay, it's a WordPress plugin actually, and you will get that free. We will sell that in the future, guarantee you. It's final touches of being developed. Next week it'll be on the final touches, and we got to beta test it real quickly. But you will get that before the end of this 3-week training, guaranteed. But only you will get that if you sign up until the end of this webinar. Okay, WebinarLegend.com, and yes, it's a WordPress plugin. Okay, so the good news on something like that is we have a default. If you notice here, let me go back to one of these. If you notice on this one, the register now, we have a default template that will automatically put a thanks for registering, although you could put whatever page you want there instead. Okay? But it's slick because it's a WordPress plugin that automatically creates these pages. You just fill out a couple forms, put it in your autoresponder list, and it will simultaneously add them to GoToWebinar in your email list. And there's nothing like that on the market today that is as slick and as easy to use as that. You get that as a bonus if you sign up before the end of this webinar today. Okay? In addition to that, you get all the other bonuses we discussed, and you get the 3 live trainings with me and Will. Okay? Typically, the live trainings last about 90 minutes of pure content, and then we typically will stay on and answer almost every question that's pertinent. Okay? Plus, you get the members area. You will be able to leave comments and converse and network with each other. And anybody who's been in any of my e-classes before knows how valuable that is. Okay? They know how valuable that is because I can't tell you how many profitable relationships have been struck up from members within my own e-classes. And Will can tell you the same thing. He's seen it all the time.
Yeah, the most powerful thing when we do something like this is absolutely the relationships you're going to form. Because remember, Jason kind of touched a little bit on how to get JVs and how to get people to promote. There are going to be people in the class that you automatically have a bond with, that you can connect with to, you know, start creating promotions and stuff for each other. It's really, really powerful. That in itself is worth a lot of money right there.
Yeah, somebody said, well, what about the issue of not having the URL then when you send them? I mean, you don't have to use this. But what I would recommend instead is get a URL like I have, which is like mywebinar.com/me, you know, or, you know, webinars, professional webinar training.org, you know, so it has that cloud of an authority. But yeah, this thing will save you so much time, because one of the things that Will and I are doing is we're integrating text messaging into our webinars, meaning when somebody signs up, we redirect them to a page that says, would you also like to get a text notification of this webinar on the day of the webinar? You can't do that in GoToWebinar because you can't do an automatic redirect. You just can't. So you have to use a script. And most of the scripts that are out there are super expensive. I paid $300 for the one that I use. And I barely use it because it takes me 15 minutes to set it up every time I set it up. Okay, and that's now no longer an issue. Okay, it will take much less than that. And so when we talk to you about doing text integration, which is extremely valuable, by the way, you will now be able to do that in a snap. I can show you how to do that.
Yeah, and we're getting questions as far as the webinar plugin is concerned. Folks, it will be given to you by the end of the live course, okay? So just hang tight. We are putting some finishing touches on it. So before the live coaching is over, 3.5 weeks from now, you will have that in your hands.
Yeah, and if you guys want to beta test it, we'll give it to you as soon as it's ready to beta test. Yep, so we'll flip out some beta.
Do you have any other questions? Somebody mentioned the email confirmation had a wrong URL in it. I apologize for that. I have fixed it. If you need to find the members area, just go to WebinarLegend.com, and then right at the top there, just click on members there, members, and the username and password will be correct that you received.
Yeah, it was an email thing. But yeah, if you ever need to get into the members area, just click here, and you'll be able to log in. You know, if you ever need support, you can click on support, and we have dedicated support for Webinar Legend, as you see up there. You can put support in there. Yeah, we will have the plugin done before the end of this training. I don't know how soon it will be because you'd never know what the development of this stuff. But we literally, the reason why we thought of this last night, me and Will did, of putting this in as this extra offer. That's why I don't have super specifics for you, okay? Because this is something we are in the plans of developing already and selling. But yeah, you would get that for free if you sign up. And that's legitimate. I mean, that's a good deal, because what is more perfect of a bonus for you than the webinar opt-in plugin for a webinar training? We're not going to use a forum guy. We're just going to use comments, a comment thread. And I can show you an example of an e-class that I did before. Let's see if I can find one of how that works. I think it's, yeah, here we go. So you can see what it looks like from some of our past classes that we've done. I think it's this one. And you can see how valuable this is as far as the networking goes. Okay? So you can see inside of this one, 1,171 comments. Okay? And you can see like Q&A, questions and answers. You know, people like giving ideas, like a GoToWebinar discount. You know, this person saying Mary Jo's a rock star because we're in there helping you out, you know. You can look at this and you can see this is like a past example of an e-class that we did, is that people are helping each other. They're commenting on these things. You know, they're asking each other questions. They're networking, as you can see in the comments here, you know. See how, like, George asked a question, and then he answered the question before we could answer it. Kieran did, and actually Tim answered the question as well. And you know, you got Caleb in here. He's given a whole bunch of content, and people are networking with each other. You know, here's three-threaded comments. You know, we have a Q&A up here. So this is specifically for members, answering member-to-member question and answers asked here. And you can see here 226 of them. You know, this is what we do. So it's a great networking opportunity as well as a training opportunity. And yeah, Leanne, that's correct. WebinarLegend.com. People have been asking, are you going to do this training again? Finances are a little tight for me right now. I don't know, to be honest with you. I told people when we did our last e-class that we would do it again next year. It's now been a year and 9 months. I would love to do these as much as possible, but we've been doing so much software development recently that we don't have a lot of time to create info products. So we're doing this class instead. But the thing is, I honestly, I would love to do it again. We probably will do it again. I just can't tell you when we will do it again.
Yeah, and do remember, even if you're not ready to use the information just yet, you're going to have access to the members area where you can watch this anytime. So, you know, you can come back later if you're not ready to do a webinar for a couple of months. What we're going to push you to do, though, is do webinars really soon. Even if you don't, you know, if your offer isn't quite ready yet, you need to start getting the practice so that when you're ready to really start making a killing with your products, you're absolutely ready to go on the webinar front, and that's not going to be an issue for you. We're going to show you everything you need to do anyway, so you'll be set on that front. Questions about the plugin that Jason's been talking about? You need to sign up before we end this webinar in order to get that plugin. That plugin is going to be sold in the market, you know, as a separate standalone product. We don't know what the price is going to be yet. It'll be at a minimum $47 probably as a launch special. That's the minimum. Might even be more than that. But it'll probably sell by itself probably for about 97 bucks.
Yeah, I'm imagining we might do a 47 intro, bump it up to 77, and then finally take it to 97 on the final price increase, you know. Or we might just go 77, 97, I don't know. But I can legitimately say it'll be at least $47. But it probably will be the price of half of this e-class training. And yeah, Steve.
Yeah, and what the plugin does, Donna, is instead of sending somebody to a GoToWebinar registration page, which does not allow you to opt them into your list, it just signs them up to GoToWebinar. We will put the plugin in front of it, so once they register for the webinar using the plugin, it'll both register them inside the GoToWebinar as well as opt them into your mailing list, as well as give you additional capabilities like redirecting them immediately after registration to some thank you page of sorts, which GoToWebinar doesn't allow you to do very well. They have that feature there, but it really is very bad and doesn't work. So we're going to automate that. For example, if you've signed up for some of my webinars in the past, not the latest few because I've been too busy to set it up, but in the past when you've registered for my webinars, you were redirected immediately to a page asking if you wanted to opt in for my text messaging notification of webinars. And so, you know, I have several hundred people on a text message list, which significantly increases attendance rate, and we'll talk about that during the course as well.
Yeah. Somebody asked, Stu said, I just joined. I kind of missed earlier the presentation. We're going to teach how we can do webinars if we have no list and no product of our own. Stu, we will absolutely teach you how to do it with no list. In fact, that was the focus of a lot of our presentation. No product on your own. I have never thought of that, but Stu, the easiest way is to pitch a PLR product.
Yeah, you can pitch affiliate offers too, Jason. I've done that in the past. You take a product that's really good, and as an affiliate, you can start making sales off of it on a webinar.
Oh, absolutely. What I've done before in the past is purchase resale rights to a product, and then I pitched it on a webinar, and you know, let's just say this: I paid 97 bucks for the resale rights, and I made close to $10,000 on it. So, yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Again, Linda asked, "Am I going to be showing all the closes that I had on one of these slides earlier?" I guess I'm not going to skip back to it now, but the answer to that is yes. Okay, I will literally give you those closes, and more importantly, because I did this training in the past. And I gave people word-for-word closes, and then literally every other webinar I went on, even the big guys, they were using my closes word-for-word, and it didn't make sense for them, you know, because it's my personality. So not only will I give you, like, the word-for-word on how I use it, but I'll explain to you how to adapt it based on your personality type, too. Awesome. Jim, you're in. Thanks so much for signing up, Jim.
And somebody, I forgot, it scrolled off the screen, but somebody said they're having troubles logging in. I think it was Pat. Pat, just click on this, go to WebinarLegend.com, click on the support link at the top, and we will help you get in. Okay, you got it via email? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and Cherry says it's requiring a confirmation for my credit card. They said they would be doing a deposit in the next day. Then I'll have to confirm. Yeah, Cherry, no problem. We'll make sure you get the bonus because you signed up today, as long as it goes through. And Dennis says, I'm in. Jason, Dennis, wonderful to have you. And Donna says, I'm paying now, even though I missed the presentation. Donna, you're making an investment. You're not paying, okay? You're getting a lot of good information. You're going to get coaching. Honestly, I think that's the most valuable. Because me,
hey,
Will,
Jason,
and I...
How about a modified Columbo right now? Okay, so by the way, when you sign up today, when you get to the members area, we have already put your affiliate link right in the members area. So including a pre-written email that you can send if you have a list, so that you can start promoting Webinar Legend right away and probably recoup your cost before the class even starts.
Yeah, so even if you're on Facebook, just take that affiliate link that's created for you and say, I was just on a killer webinar with Will and Jason, and I signed up here. Put in your affiliate link, and you might even make this class free before you even hit the first session. I will recommend you promote it right away, though, because we are closing down the offer completely at 5/09/2011 midnight, okay, or sometime around there, because the first class is on May 10th. Okay, but yeah, oh, by the way, that's a good example. And okay, Judith says already signed up. This is going to be my 3rd class with you, Jason. Judith, you know how good they are then. No, thank you so much for signing up, Judith. Okay.
And folks, here's what we'll do as well. The affiliate, when you click on affiliate tools in the members area, you will see basically your affiliate link and a pre-written email. As soon as we post this webinar recording, I will add your affiliate link to the webinar recording so that then you can send people to the webinar so they can watch the recording, and if they buy off the webinar, you're going to get a commission there too. Okay, so keep watching the affiliate tools area. Jason, what would it take us about, by tomorrow morning probably we'll have that there, right?
Yeah, I'm literally going to try to do it tonight because I'm going to be in St. Louis tomorrow watching the Cardinals play. So I don't have a whole lot of time tomorrow to do it. Actually, I have no time, so I'm going to try to get it done tonight. So it might be there tonight. Otherwise, it could be tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be there by latest tomorrow. So yeah, you could promote the webinar replay tomorrow. That'll be in there. Brian says, it's been a while, Jason. I'm in. Brian White, good to have you again. Brian's been an old school E-classer from back in the day with me. Good to have that in. And Doug says, I'm in. I have a webinar on mine to do. Doug, awesome. Welcome aboard. If anybody's taken any of my E-classes in the past, they've typically been 5 payments of $97, okay? This one's 2 payments of $97. It's a good deal. Roger says, I'm signing up now. Awesome, Roger. Can't wait to see you in the class. Alan says, I'm in. Jason, looking forward to it. Alan, so great to have you. Donna says, laugh out loud. I love the product E-class. You know what we do on those E-classes, Donna. PayPal is kind of processing slow for some people. Just give us some time, okay? If for some weird reason you've tried several times and can't get through, contact support, and we'll make sure you get your bonus with the webinar opt-in plugin. Now, by the way, that is not done yet. That will be delivered to you not right away, not today, but it will be delivered to you before the end of this training, okay? And that's something that we are absolutely going to sell to everybody else that you get for free. And I like what Cherry says.
Jordan asks, can you use webinars as a service provider? Absolutely. I've used webinars a lot to, in providing services or in selling services. It's an amazing, amazing way to establish trust with your audience and then have them buy services from you.
Oh, yeah. I know Jim, I don't know if Jim's still on this call, Jim Forbes, but they use the service orientation aspect of it on their webinars to sell lots of product. It's interesting. Maybe I'll get Jim to spill his guts to us. But yeah, Jim's a good coaching client of mine who was on here earlier, and he's attended a lot of my e-classes in the past, and that's one of the ways that they specifically use webinars. I like what Mark says. I just purchased and I came in 5 minutes ago. Anything Jason and Will put out, I'm in. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. I like what Stu says. Dumb question of the day. Is a broadband connection essential for running PowerPoint slide webinars? My connection is slow. Stu, I would probably say it's very helpful. I've never ran, by broadband you mean cable or DSL probably. I've never ran like a 56K on a webinar, but I probably would not recommend that. Okay, and Wall said he sent a link to the help desk for Dan's course to you, Will, the Dan's mobile course.
Yeah, Wall will take care of it.
Yep.
We answer help desk tickets within a few hours, so.
Okay, so Susan, so will there be a recording that we can directly to people as affiliates? Yes, I'm going to try to. I don't know if I can. I'm going to try to get this webinar recording up tonight because I'm going to be in St. Louis tomorrow. So if I can get it up tonight, if not, I'll get it up early tomorrow so you can promote this, and you want to promote it right away.
And then what we'll do is we will actually add your affiliate link to the webinar recording itself to the affiliate tools page. Okay, so just keep checking on that. Right now there's your affiliate link right there directly to the home page, and there is a pre-written email that you can send out if you have a list. We will also add the webinar recording link so that you can send out. So Jason will try and do that tonight. As soon as that is done and posted, I will go ahead and add those other links. So if you check back, late tonight or tomorrow morning, there will be an affiliate link to the webinar recording, which will be a great way for you to promote this.
Yeah, Daniel says this. This is awesome. He says, I just signed up. I've been doing webinars for years, but you guys have already taught me a ton of information. I'm really excited about being part of your course. Will you teach us how to do the sign-up pages like you have for this course? I hope you guys make a ton of money. Daniel, yes, 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 and yes. All that and more. That's so awesome, though. I like that. When somebody says, I've been doing webinars for years, and just from the free content you gave me, I learned a lot. That's spot on, because while we gave as much as we could in 60 minutes, oh, imagine what we have during the training sessions and the reference material and the networking and the bonuses. This is truly an unbelievable deal. WebinarLegend.com. And Linda says, just signed up, can't wait. Tara says, when I signed up, notice 2 classes are on Tuesday and 1 is on Wednesday. Is that correct? Yeah, Tara, the first 2 classes are on Wednesday. On Tuesday, sorry. And the last class is on Wednesday. So we'll make sure everybody knows about that because, yeah, we are going to be on the road for a day, so we don't want to come back jet-lagged and do another Tuesday, so we push one back to Wednesday. Wall says, I have done many of Jason's great courses, too. Thank you, Wall. Stan says, I am in and at the site. Are the closes, backlog, of presentation, email, swipe file, and reference guide already uploaded and available? If so, where are they? No, Stan. Some of them are. There's Webinar Pitch Secrets is already in there for you to download. There is a breakdown of one of my most successful presentations, slide by slide, that's already in there as well. And I believe there is something else in there, although I can't remember what it is. The other stuff, the backlog of presentations, email, swipe files, and reference guides, those are going to be sprinkled in and given to you judiciously over the next 3 weeks. Because if I make you sip from a fire hose today, all you have to show for it is a sore throat. And so we'll be making sure to give those to you in appropriate amount of doses so you can get the most out of them. So those will be dripped out, so to speak, given at strategic times over the next 3 weeks so you can be most receptive to the teachings inside them.
So Jason, we're going to close here in a few minutes. We'll take a few more questions, but anybody that's interested in getting that plugin as a bonus really needs to sign up before we close this webinar. So is anybody still waiting to order, has issues ordering or anything like that? Okay, Lisa's ordering now. Okay. Anybody else who has not ordered that plans to order before we close, because we only have okay, Eric, tell us what your issue is ordering. Yvonne, what's the question you have? We apologize, guys. There are still, right now, almost 200 people on this call. There were well over 300 earlier. Your questions may have scrolled by, so please type it in again. Oh, Eric, yeah, if you purchase and you can't log in, I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on, but we absolutely will fix it right away. Please go to WebinarLegend.com. At the top, click Support, and copy and paste your receipt into the support ticket, and we'll get back to you right away.
Oh, that was Eric, correct? You were addressing that too?
That was Eric, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good, because I just saw it too, and I wanted to make sure that he got in. Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime you need help, just go to WebinarLegend.com and click on support up here. Or you can put in a ticket. And we're very quick.
Guys, we have dedicated support staff, okay, and everybody's there ready to answer your questions. I go in there and I answer questions as well. So within a few hours, we usually tend to answer questions. During weekdays, our goal is to never let a ticket sit for more than 24 hours, no matter how busy we are. On the weekends, it'll take a little longer, of course, but we absolutely will answer your ticket, okay? Hey, Stan. Aloha. I'm going to be in Hawaii next week, buddy. I'm going to be in Maui. I used to live on Oahu, actually. I used to live in Kailua. Where are you? Okay, Yvonne, please write that question to the help desk about the plugin. One of the things that you will get in the training, Yvonne, is the Amazon S3 webinar that I did a couple of years ago. We still sell that thing. That was the case study that I told you I only had 49 people on. So you'll get that webinar recording and presentation, so you'll be able to deconstruct that and see what we did there. And that thing still sells. Last month it sold almost $1,000 for 17 bucks a pop, and it converts into product sales for $97 at a rate of about 11.5%. So it's really, really awesome. So will you need to go to webinar subscription, Paul? Yes, you will. We will show you some ways to save money on that. But yeah, absolutely, you will. You need a GoToWebinar account. You can use other platforms. We don't recommend you use other platforms because of the features that GoToWebinar offers. There are very specific things we're going to teach about GoToWebinar. If you want to use other platforms, the concepts you're going to learn are still going to apply, but we absolutely encourage you to use GoToWebinar. You know what? For the cost of GoToWebinar per month and the amount of money that we make on webinars, it's an absolute no-brainer. Yep, you're welcome, Paul. Linda, if you want to use a different webinar provider, the plugin will not do you any good. It's specific for GoToWebinar. Roger, we will share some stuff with you regarding GoToWebinar and pricing and stuff during the session, okay? So you can actually hold off on signing up if you don't have an account yet.
Yeah, I mean, you can sign up for the $1 trial, right?
Yeah, you can sign up for the trial. That's right. Yeah, they have a 30-day trial. You're welcome to sign up. In fact, you know, wait until next week until we do the first session to sign up if you don't already have an account.
Yeah, we got a little secret we can't talk about publicly.
Yeah, exactly, Troy. We'll take care of that, okay? So do not worry. Yeah, we'll post as soon as we have a beta version of the plugin. We will post that and let you guys all beta test it. Okay, so anybody still having troubles ordering? If you're having troubles logging in, I apologize, folks. I'm not sure what's going on, but we will get to the bottom of it and get you information back today. You will be able to log in today. We will answer your support tickets today. That's my personal guarantee. I'll go personally in there and ask and answer your questions about logging in. Okay? If you have other questions, it might take a little longer because, you know, we're almost 2 o'clock Pacific already, and I'm going to take off a little early today, but if there are login issues, we will get you taken care of today. Okay, any other questions? Anybody else have trouble? Yeah, wait until after the first class to sign up for GoToWebinar, okay? We have something special for you. Wait till after the first class. Yeah, the first class is on Tuesday the 10th. And we'll be teaching all about GoToWebinar on Tuesday the 10th.
Roger's having issues checking out still.
Roger, tell us what the issues are.
He says it's getting hung up in PayPal.
That's interesting. That's weird.
Are you
Yeah,
getting
switch your
hung up,
browser and see if that
Roger?
makes it better.
Specifically, are you getting hung up like if we go to add to cart, except are you getting hung up right here, or are you getting hung up literally in or in PayPal itself?
Yeah, so Tara, is it this screen that Jason is on right now that's giving you problems, or is it the next screen where you're actually on the PayPal website?
Oh, it's actually PayPal.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than one person has mentioned that it took 5 minutes. Depending on where you're at or what server you're pulling from with PayPal, they legitimately might be doing some maintenance right now. In fact, Will, now that I mentioned the word maintenance, I specifically remember logging into PayPal and they talking about something about maintenance. So.
Oh yeah, the 6th and the 7th.
Which is today.
Just today and tomorrow. Isn't that great? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, PayPal's doing maintenance right now, which doesn't affect all servers, but it affects some servers. And depending on where you're at in the world or where you're pulling, what server you're connecting to with PayPal, it is probably slower than normal because they are doing maintenance today.
Yeah, PayPal literally has thousands of servers, guys, and you never know which one you're hitting. So, okay, so if you're having troubles, okay, so Tara said it took like 5 minutes, but just make sure that you wait or try a different browser and see what happens.
Yeah, what we'll do is I know the people who are typing in that they're trying to check out but can't get through. So if you specifically send a message to support, go to WebinarLegend.com and just click on support. Send us a message saying, you know, dude, I tried buying before the end of the webinar because I wanted that killer bonus. I will know if it's legitimate or not. Okay, so I mean, try your best to sign up right now. If you, for some reason, PayPal's acting a little wonky on you, put in support and let us know that you were on the webinar and tried ordering. I know the names of the people who said that to try to order and were having trouble, okay? And we'll make sure if you do order later that you get the bonus, okay? If you don't speak up, though.
Very important, guys. If you're having troubles, Jason just said it, I'll repeat it because it's really important. If you're having troubles ordering because PayPal's down or whatever, go back to our webpage, click on support, and submit a ticket before this webinar is over. It takes you 2 seconds. Don't submit a ticket on Monday or Tuesday next week and say, well, I tried to order on Friday, it didn't work, give me the plugin. We won't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to be...
Submit a ticket right now. That will be the timestamp. Okay?
Yeah, we'll see the timestamp from now. So you got to do that now before the end of the webinar. Say, I've legitimately tried ordering, but PayPal's acting like a dork. I want the bonus from the webinar. Make sure I get it when I'm able to sign up later. Okay?
Yeah, don't send us a ticket on tomorrow or Sunday or Monday saying, hey, I tried to order. If you send that ticket in after the webinar cutoff today, we just won't be able to help you. Sorry, guys. So either hopefully your order went through, or you submit a ticket. And we're not trying to be mean about it. It's just that we have people ask all the time, like, hey, can I still get that bonus? And it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it would make no sense because we reward people who take action right away on the webinar. So why would we, like, punish them, by giving people who didn't take action on the webinar? So we're hard fast, and we'll talk about that a lot in the Webinar Legend training about the fact is when we make bonus offers and things like that nature, we stick to them. To the point where, a couple people might get mad at me, but it's better that a few people get mad at me so I keep happy all the people who ordered when I asked them to,
Yeah, and if you already paid and you were able to pay, don't worry. You don't have to submit any tickets. We're just telling the people that PayPal is not letting them pay for some reason, they have to submit a ticket to let us know that they really tried to order, so we'll give them the bonus. If you already paid, you got your receipt from PayPal, you're good. You're set. Don't worry. You do qualify for the bonus. Yeah,
and Leanne, your certification goes, just curious if I promote what I can say the bonuses are. The bonuses are, in addition to the 3 trainings, the 3 live coaching sessions, you get lifetime access to the members area, you get peer-to-peer networking, you're going to get a backlog of all of our successful webinars, including the PDF of the PowerPoint presentations. There's a breakdown and deconstruction of one of my best pitches. We give you the email swipes of how we promoted these webinars, and there are other stuff, like other things I'm going to add in there. I have a whole bunch of great stuff lying around that isn't being put to use right now that I could find a home with the Webinar Legend members. Yeah, Brian, we had a wrong link in the email earlier with the login details. I believe we'll fix that. If for some reason it takes you to WP FanPro, that was an accident. Just instead go back to WebinarLegend.com, then just click Members. And then once you click Members, you can put in your username and password. It does say WordPress up here. That's just because we're using WordPress to hook into our membership site. Okay? Just ignore that and put username and password in, and then you're fine to go. Okay, so if for some reason it's not taking you to the right area to log in, go back to WebinarLegend.com and click Members.
All right, Jason, I think we should do one last call here for people that may be having trouble ordering. Is anybody still in the process of ordering? Because we're going to close down this deal. Let us know in the question box, please.
Oh, Stacy says I am still.
Okay, all right, good. We'll wait for Stacy. You're still working on it, Stacy? Ticket submitted? Okay, great. Thanks, Roger. We'll take care of you really soon, okay? Sandy is ordering now. Okay, perfect. We'll wait a few more minutes. Meanwhile, any more questions?
Yeah, the 3 dates where the webinars are taking place is the first one is on, actually, at Webinar Legends you see here, May 10th. The second webinar is on May 17th. The final one is on the 25th. All of those are at 2 p.m. Central Time, noon Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time
3
zone.
3 p.m. Eastern.
Or 3 p.m. Eastern, sorry. 3 p.m. Eastern, whatever. So they come at 2 p.m. Central. I can guarantee you that. So you can do the adjustments on that. May 10th, May 17th, and the 25th. And if you can't make them live, there will be the recordings archived in the members area.
And Jason, let's do it on the fly deconstruction here. What have we been doing for the past 30 minutes, guys? What have we been doing? Tara got it right away. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't stop. And if you look at it, it's like, let me see if I can pop this presentation back open. When I was making the presentation earlier, all these blank slides, somehow my return key got stuck, and I didn't notice it. But you saw all those blank slides. But yeah, the things like the Q&A close, we definitely did that one, And we did a version of, we didn't actually pause the recording, but it's the same close, where we offered a bonus before the end of the webinar only. And yeah, we used that one, I used a variation of the amnesia close when I said, you're not going to change your habits with one 60-minute call. You need more than that. See, these aren't like tactics that pressure people into buying. They're ways of helping you communicate reasons why people who are interested in what you have to offer should buy. And you help them get clarity on if it's good for them or not, So, I mean, then there's a couple more that I use that I'm not going to get into now, but yeah, we do this. We don't just teach this. That's what's refreshing. You'll find out when you sign up with us is there's going to be case study after case study, example after example, and most importantly, when we're doing webinars, we take questions and we give answers. And so sometimes the best thing we can do for you on these e-classes is if you come to me and Will and say, I got this idea here, and I say, don't do it. I guarantee it won't work. Okay, what I've just done is probably saved you 2 or 3 months of your life. And that's equally as valuable as anything that we bring to the table. It's my insight and Will's insights on don't do that. Please don't do that because I know it won't work. And like I said, that's just as valuable as anything. But yeah, WebinarLegend.com. I like that, Tara. So Jason Lifesaver Fladlien.
Yeah, that's funny. Stu said we used the tech meltdown close. Stu, that's funny. No, man, believe me, that was absolutely not part of it. We don't want PayPal to have troubles.
Yeah,
we don't play that game.
That's not a close. The carts crashed. The shopping carts went down during the launch. That's not a close. Joy says, Jason, is this the same as Joel Peterson's program? Joel's a friend of mine. This is not the same. I love Joel. Joel, actually, I think I licensed him some of my content. He bought the content from me, actually. So I gave him some of my content in his members area for Webinar Pitch Secrets. But I don't know if he used it or not, but no, it's separate. It's completely separate. Joel's great at webinars. We just have completely different styles. But yeah, Joel's a friend of mine. But yeah, this is completely separate. And yeah, once we get this WordPress plugin set and go as a bonus, we'll give you all the documentation on how to work it. Oh, no problem, Tara. Oh yeah, what's cool is Pat asked about my graphics during my presentation. We'll show you all those graphics for free. Okay, every single one of those I use were free, and they're commercially free. You have the rights to use those for commercial purposes. I'll show you during the training how I do that. If it's not on the live training, I'll actually create a little video of how I do that. I got a lot of secret graphic sources where I'm getting a lot of my graphics that spruce up my PowerPoints for free.
Yeah, so Mike asked, once the WordPress plugin is ready, will you show us how to install it? Absolutely, Mike. What you're going to get is the full product. Remember, we're going to sell that as a product. So what you're going to get is actually access to that members area. And that's how, and so that'll have all the how-to information, the videos, the documentation. It'll be fully supported. You're literally getting a copy of a product for free as a bonus. Yep, you're welcome. All right, last chance, guys. Anybody else having trouble ordering?
Yeah.
If you are, please, at this point, go to our support desk, go to WebinarLegend.com, click the support link, and submit a ticket right now telling us that you were trying to order and tell us what issue you had. That will qualify you. We'll work with you, help you order it so that you can get the bonus, okay? After the webinar, if you submit the ticket after the webinar, sorry guys, we're just not going to be able to give it to you.
Okay, we're good to go. I think we need to end it because I got to get this replay up tonight before I leave for St. Louis.
There you go. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We look forward to working with you guys in the class. I'm actually going to be teaching the first class on Tuesday, so I'm going to show you all the ins and outs of GoToWebinar. This is going to be a very, very valuable session for beginners as well as people that have already been doing webinars, because I guarantee you I am going to show you tricks inside GoToWebinar that you just did not know were there or did not know how to use. Okay, so look forward to starting the class on Tuesday. And remember again that use your affiliate link, post on Facebook, post on Twitter, invite other people to come see this.
Yeah, we haven't done the first class yet, Rochelle. The first class is starting next Tuesday. So